Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swami Netapaharine. Namaste everybody. I'm very grateful to ICSI and Dr. Gulshan Sharma ji, Mr. Sudeep Majumdar ji for organizing this program. In fact, organizing the entire sequence of programs on Swami Vivekananda's philosophy of education for youth empowerment. Uh, Swami Vivekananda's education philosophy has many aspects. What is the aim of education? What is the methodology, the role of the teacher, the role of the student? But I wanted to focus on one particular thing which I feel is very essential at this juncture, uh, which is the role of concentration. As Sudeep Babu just said, Swami Vivekananda considered concentration to be the key to success in education. Um, Swami Vivekananda, he has praised concentration and pointed out the importance of concentration in many different, on many different occasions. In the complete works, you will find one part I just wanted to read, which struck me, was he says, "How has all knowledge in the world been gained but by concentration of the powers of the mind? The world is ready to give up its secrets if only we know how to knock, how to give it the necessary blow. The strength and force of the blow come through concentration. There is no limit to the power of the human mind. The more concentrated it is, the more power is brought to bear on one point. That is the secret." Now, why I chose this particular quotation is recently I was reading about um, a very nice article about the life and work of von Neumann, one of the greatest scientific minds of the 20th century. He was here in the United States. Um, Tremendous mind. I mean, his contributions are across multiple fields. Now, in that article, there was a lot of biographical information, how he would work, and it described how he would concentrate intensely on a particular subject and master it very fast and make breakthrough discoveries in that subject. And then the key thing was, he believed, von Neumann, the scientist, he believed that every problem could be solved if one could concentrate hard enough on it. Now, this is almost exactly Swami Vivekananda's language. I was immediately reminded of this observation by Swami Vivekananda, that the secret to all knowledge lies in concentration. Swami Vivekananda said that the difference between an ordinary person and a great person lies in the degree of concentration. I myself have seen on various occasions. I love visiting universities, educational institutions, and watching scholars, professors, students working. And I have seen one thing common, that it is concentration which makes the difference between a successful student and not so successful student, between a successful teacher, scholar, and not so successful scholar or teacher. I have visited some of the best campuses in India. I used to go to IIT Kanpur to give talks there, and I preferred to stay on campus, go to the library, and watch students at work. Recently, I was um, privileged to spend a 1 year at Harvard University. Last year, 2019 and 2020, I was for nearly 1 year. I was at Harvard University, and there also I did the same thing. I watched students at work, scholars at work. One thing I noticed common across the world in the top institutes, wherever I've seen, um, it is this power of concentration. The best students, the best scholars, and professors, they have this unique ability to focus on something, to cut out all distractions, and to hold that focus steady on that subject. This is what I want to talk about. Swami Vivekananda gave so much importance to this. And in this day and age, what is the problem, the challenge to concentration? and what are the ways in which we can face those challenges and overcome them and develop the power of concentration. I think this is one thing, one area where the youth today across the world, especially in India, we need to focus. We have a tremendous, what is called a human capital boom in India, the young population there, and that is the greatest resource. Dr. Gulshan Sharma ji knows, Sudeep Babu also knows that, especially when you come out of India and you look at the advanced countries in the world, in Europe, in America, Australia, New Zealand, uh, you see the importance of human capital. Uh, Sometimes we think that when a population can be a problem, overpopulation can be a problem, as we see in India, but we see the importance of human capital. You see what the achievements of Indians in all these countries. The Indian diaspora is one of the most well-to-do, highly accomplished, highly regarded sections of the population wherever Indians have gone. So the advantage of our population, human resources, you can see in these countries. And the key to it, I believe, it lies here in the power of concentration, to key to empowering our younger generation. Problem. Right now, there is this documentary you can all watch, and I highly recommend that you watch it. It's called The Social Dilemma. Um, People here are watching it also, and I saw it. Um, and it is about the harmful effects of social media on concentration, on the lives of people, um, especially young people. So, what has happened is that the most common social media platforms like Facebook and other things, how they are being used, and what is the effect on the psychology of people who use these social platforms. That's the topic of this very interesting documentary. They're talking about how, when we see the internet today, so many websites, so much is on offer, wonderful content, audio, video, everything. And what strikes us is it is all free. All this tremendous content is there which can engage you day and night. It's all free, easily available. There is a saying, nothing is free. If a product is free, then you must realize that you are the product. If you're getting something for free, then what is being sold there is you are being sold there. How are we being sold there? It seems that in Silicon Valley, in the last 20 years or so, they realized this fact that people cannot compete in the internet on the basis of content alone. There's so much content there. No matter how nice you make your web page, no matter how nice and you make your YouTube channel, whatever you do, there is so much competition there, so much content there. So how can we grab your attention? That became the new area of research. So they call it the attention economy. And why they're interested in grabbing your attention is, of course, money. At the bottom of it is all money. All these outlets, the media channels, and all, they need money from sponsors, and the corporates, they give advertisements, and based on that, these content providers generate revenue. For them, it is very essential to grab your attention. So over the years, these platforms have developed to grab our attention. The psychology of it is very interesting. People of earlier generation, uh, Dr. Sharma or Shurib Babu or I, we will feel that technology is neutral. We all always hear this. Our parents, uncles, and aunties will tell us technology is not to blame. It is the human being who's to blame. Technology is neutral. You can use it for good. You can use it for bad. But that's not true. What we don't realize, people of our generation, is they pointed out that this new technology is not neutral. It is being designed and redesigned continuously. See, the phone which we had, telephone landline which we had, um, Even now, it's there on my desk. It is covered with dust. The telephone landline. Um, that was this. It was stable technology. It remained in the same form. A phone would come into our house, and the same. We all from childhood we grew up seeing the same telephone with a rotary dial, same instrument. Maybe 20 years it would stay, and it would be replaced by another one like it. That's it. But the phone that we use today, the smartphone, even I have got one. So what is happening is that there are these very smart people in Silicon Valley, many of them Indians. They are spending their days and nights improving and changing this phone, continuously changing. You will see your phone is continuously updating. New software is coming, and new apps are coming. It is changing. Not only the hardware is changing, every few years you replace this phone, but every day the software of the phone is being upgraded. New things are being downloaded automatically, even if we don't know it. Many of these upgrades, many of these changes are designed to capture our attention. So, in this social dilemma, this documentary has shown how these apps, social media platforms, are programmed continuously to catch our attention. They can track us. They know what we are browsing. So they, all of it is to not for any evil intention, but to sell their products. So, for example, simple thing on Facebook, if you send a message to somebody, you will find a little dot 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 is coming that the other person is responding. When the other person is typing, at that time they will show you that the other person is typing. So that just generates an anticipation in our mind. We're waiting for the reply. For that little period of time, our attention is got there. Again and again, you will see the phone. Little ping will be there, little ting will be there, some sound will come, little vibration will be there on purpose. On purpose. Why? And they discovered that when you give this once in a while, little message will come, little advertisement will come, and we try and take a look at the phone. This taking a look at the phone, this micro diversion of attention, we become trained to that. And there is a neuroscience, they have gone into it, that just as we get a little burst of dopamine in the brain, which gives us a little tiny little burst of pleasure whenever we do something which we like, the phone trains us for that. So it becomes like a little bit of an addiction, not an intense addiction like drug addiction. In that case, it would be banned, but a small addiction which seems innocent but still is a very strong addiction. You notice how all of us have been trained over time to just look at the phone again and again. Hundreds of times throughout the day, we take a look at the phone just for a few seconds. So it is very damaging for our attention. It's very damaging for concentration. Concentration requires paying attention to something, unbroken attention for a chunk of time. If our whole habit is to look here and there, is to look at the phone again and again, on social media and look at our posts, look at updates, not related to our current work, it has a very bad effect on attention. And it becomes a habit, which is very difficult to break. A very good test is something common to people all over the world now. If you take away your phone, if you switch it off, immediately you feel a little uneasy. You feel that little uneasiness is because we have been trained, we have been addicted to that phone. I was hearing that people here in Columbia University, in New York, Ivy League universities, they are watching this documentary, Social Dilemma, and many of them have vowed to go off social media altogether. Students, young students in the top universities in America. I don't know how many will be able to do it, but it just shows the scale of the problem. I saw recently someone in Harvard University, they are organizing watch parties. That means the students will get together and watch this documentary. So the point here is Daniel Goleman, who is a psychologist, journalist, who wrote the famous book on emotional intelligence, EQ. He has recently written a book on concentration. This book is called Focus. Daniel Goleman, Focus. He says that over the years, I've been hearing these complaints about the loss of concentration, especially among young people, students. I've heard it from parents. I've heard it from teachers. I've heard it from the students themselves. I've heard it from corporate leaders who are hiring the youngsters who are coming out of universities, and they find this problem: loss of productivity, inability to concentrate. So he said that's why it prompted me to write this book. Now, I'll say a few things about what the findings of this Daniel Goleman's findings, which he has put in the book Focus. Um, One thing he says is we must make a distinction between this wandering mind and reflective thinking. So it's not that we do not focus. It is not that we are not using our minds. Our minds are in fact overused. We're constantly chattering. So minds are going from one thought to another thought, being distracted a little bit by computer or phone, again going back to our work, again thinking of something else. So this is called wandering mind. And he says this is the enemy of concentration. So concentration is when you pick up a certain thread of thought, a certain aspect which you want to think about and hold on to it. When distractions come, you come back to that, you disengage with the distraction, not go to the phone, not go to the computer, not check your phone again. Go back, you come back to your focus of work or your thought and go on with that. Let me give you an example. Few years back, I heard a talk on Vedanta given by another monk, a friend of mine, who's a noted mathematician. Some of you may know him, Mahan Maharaj. Yeah, he got the Infosys Award, Bhatnagar Award. I think first time monk has been given these awards. He has been borrowed by Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, TIFR, in Mumbai. They asked Belur Math that can we borrow your monk for a few years for research work in mathematics in topology. Actually, that's his area. Anyway, so this is the background of the person. uh, Exceptionally focused person, tremendously focused person. Now he gave a talk on Vedanta several years back. I want to just make one point here. So I heard the talk, I was very impressed how from beginning to end of the talk for 1 hour it was one flow of thought, one chain of argument. We often talk about many things. We get scattered, we go here and there. Just no wasted words, no distractions, no diversions, just one continuous argument from beginning to end. So I asked him, how do you do it? And he said, well, in mathematics, that's how we are trained. You cannot do pure mathematics unless you take up one thought and follow it for hours and hours and days and weeks. You have to be absorbed in that one thought only. And I have seen him working. In mathematics, he is a pure mathematician. So sitting quietly, just looking at the board and sitting quietly. Another collaborator, mathematician from Australia had come. He was also sitting quietly and looking. So what are they doing? They're working. Just pure thinking. No computer, no phone, not even a book, just sitting and thinking for hours and hours and hours on one topic. And at the end of it, one paper will be written, maybe. So that is the power of continuous thought without distractions. That's what Daniel Goleman says. So this is basically the essence of concentration. We all have that power, but yet unless you protect it and nurture it, it will be lost. He says one point he makes is that there's a rhythm to our concentration. This is also worth learning. Often we cannot concentrate, not because we are not trying, it is because we are trying too much. Our brains, our minds are continuously engaged from morning till night. It is like as if I have hands, I have legs. Just because I've got hands, if I keep grabbing different things, uh, I will get tired. Just because I have legs, if I keep on walking around here and there without sitting down, I will get tired very soon. We never do that. That's insanity. But with our minds, we continuously do that. We are constantly thinking, not consciously, not deliberately, just mechanically, habitually, our minds are churning on. They're going on and on with a variety of thoughts out of control. So, what he recommends is this is what we see in the lives of great spiritual teachers also. There is a rhythm to our lives. And if you see the life of, say, Vivekananda, you see the life thousands of years ago, the Bhagavan Buddha, you see something similar. There is a period of engagement in Buddha's life. If you see the daily routine, he comes out, he teaches the bhikshus, he meets the visitors, he's engaged in transmitting knowledge. But there are 3-4 times in a day when he withdraws completely away from people, away from the monks also, to sit under a tree and go into deep meditation. Swami Vivekananda, as you mentioned, he was here in the World Parliament of Religions. And by the way, this Vedanta Society where I am, it is the first one. It was established by Swami Vivekananda himself in 1894. When he was here in New York, more than 125 years ago, 130 years ago, the people who saw him, they noticed it. I was just reading yesterday the reminiscences of Cornelia Conger, who was a little girl in Chicago when Swami Vivekananda came, and he stayed in their house with her grandfather and grandmother. And she was a little girl. So she would run up and talk to Swamiji, and Swami Vivekananda would tell her stories about India, all those things she remembers. But she also remembers at times he would be unapproachable. He would sit quietly in meditation, and that such an aura of seriousness and depth that we would be afraid to approach him. Here, there are nice accounts of Swami Vivekananda here in New York. How every now and then he would be quiet, sitting quietly in his room, absolutely absorbed inwards in deep meditation. So this rhythm of external engagement and withdrawal. Meditation is a very good thing, or it could simply be take a walk in nature or just sit quietly, not what we normally do for relaxation. This is an important point. This problem was not there in Swami Vivekananda's time. What nowadays, a lot of people, not only students, especially students, but also others, what is relaxation? Oh, I'm browsing on the internet. But what is this browsing? What are you doing? I don't know. Going from one thing to another thing, very damaging for our concentration. It instills a very bad habit in the mind. Why is it so attractive? Why is it so easy? Because it mimics the natural movement of the mind. The natural movement of the mind is to go from one thought to another. So I am reading something, then it reminds me of something else, and that reminds me of some work that I have to do. That reminds me of another person. Then some worry comes back, or some hope, expectation comes, and my mind has gone off. Now, mind goes from one thing to another, jumps from one link to another. The internet, the way we browse in the internet is exactly like that. It goes from one link to another, and it mimics the movement, the scattered movement of the mind. That's why it's so easy to get lost in that. So this is one thing, that when you relax, when you withdraw from engagement, it's better to sit quietly in meditation, do a little pranayama, sit quietly, maybe repeat a mantra, or just take a walk in nature, or just listen to music. Change the occupation, what you are doing, change it to something more relaxing, something which makes you more introverted. Then one more point which Daniel Goleman has mentioned is that he mentions Walter Michel's marshmallow experiment. This is something I referred to sometimes. He was this psychologist in 1960s here in the USA, Walter Michel, who conducted a very interesting experiment on young children, 4-year-old, 5-year-old children. What he did was he gave them marshmallows. That means it's like a sweet here. And he told the little child that, do you want to eat it? And all the children said yes. Now, and each child was taken separately. I will give you one marshmallow, but do you want two? And the children said yes, we want two. Then you keep this marshmallow. I'm going out for some work. I will come back in a few minutes. If you don't eat it, it is in front of you. If you don't eat it, I will give you one more. Then you'll have two. You can eat two then. But if you eat it, then this one only. Then you will not get a second one. So will you wait? All the children said, yes, we will wait. Then the psychologist leaves the room. By the way, the original experiment of Walter Michel you cannot see, but Philip Zimbardo, who is a very well-known psychologist whose textbooks are studied in psychology classes everywhere, he repeated this experiment. And that experiment you can see on YouTube. If you Google marshmallow experiment, it's recorded. So the video recording is there of the children. When the psychologist leaves the room, the children are sitting with that sweet, the marshmallow, and then you can see the reaction of the children. All the children are attracted to it. They want to eat it. But two responses are there. Some of them simply eat it. They cannot wait anymore. Though they said we will wait, but we can't wait. They cannot wait. They eat it. And of course, they don't get a second marshmallow. Other children are attracted to it, but somehow they control themselves and they don't eat it. And then the psychologist comes back. It's difficult for a child to find a sweet in front. And God knows when the gentleman will come back. 10-15 minutes is a long time for a little child to wait. Yes, but they waited, some children. Now, the interesting thing is, Walter Michel divided the two groups. He did not tell the children anything, just on paper. He divided the two groups and he followed their career for the next 15 years till they went to college, these children. And he went back and talked to the parents and the teachers and the children, and he found a huge difference in the success in education, in studies, in co-curricular activities, in personality development, in all of them, just this small difference in self-control. Small difference in self-control. Those children who are able to control themselves, they are on the average, their SAT scores in America, they talk about this SAT examinations and all, were much higher. Their success in academic subjects was much better. The co-curricular activities, sports, learning, music, all these things, they demonstrated persistence. They took up something and held on to it and completed it. The other group of children, the same problem followed them throughout their lives. That inability to resist impulse, poor impulse control. So something comes up, they start doing. Suppose a child takes up learning music, playing violin or something like that. It's difficult. It takes long hours of practice to master it. Now, many children enter, and every teacher knows, music or sports or anything, that many will drop out. Many start, many drop out, only a few remain. So after, when it becomes boring, difficult, some nice distraction comes, many children drop it and go elsewhere. So the difference between success and failure in academic life, it was clearly shown, is a matter of self-control. Now, what does this have to do with concentration? Daniel Goleman points out that this ability that some children had to notice the distraction when it comes and to disengage from it. So I have to wait and not eat the sweet. The sweet is in front of me and attracting me. Notice that and not engage with it, disengage with it. And to resist that distraction, again and again, not allow one's attention to be taken away there and keep one's attention on the future goal. What is the future goal? I will get 2 marshmallows. To keep the attention there and not to be distracted by the present distraction. What our modern social media does is that it offers continuous distraction. And our attention is pulled into it, just like the little child who takes up the marshmallow and eats it. Though he or she had agreed, I will not eat it. But because the distraction is so powerful in front, shining, and our attention goes away from the future goal and comes here. See, the child wants 2 marshmallows. The child wants to complete learning violin. The child wants to complete the assignment. But at present, this is so attractive. That marshmallow, or the phone call is coming from my friend, or some chat is coming, or some Facebook post is there that is so attractive and immediate, our attention goes there. Studies have shown once your attention is diverted, for even once, just doing something seriously, your assignment or your office work, if you divert your attention, it may be just for a few seconds. What an amazing and rather horrifying thing that has been shown by studies is that it takes on the average 20 minutes to get back full concentration again. What a huge price to pay for just looking at the phone once. 20 minutes, your concentration will be less. You cannot fully focus again. It may take up to 20 minutes, of course, to get your concentration back again. Recently, I was reading this interesting work done by Cal Newport. He talks about something called deep work. The success in this, he says, in this internet age, is that quality is the predictor of success. So on YouTube, for example, you will see that one song gets millions of views. and the others get only few thousand maybe. One lecture gets hundreds of thousands of views. Other one gets maybe 1,000 views. Now, is your song 1,000 times better than the other songs? Is your lecture 1,000 times better than the other lecture? It cannot be. But then how is it that everybody is getting very little and only one person is getting so many views? The reason is this: the psychology of this modern internet age is, if you are offered one high quality product and many average or low quality products, everybody will select that high quality product. Mostly 99% will go there. Earlier, what happened when the information was not so widely available and freely available and equally available across the world, we would select whatever was available. I would go to my bookshop and select whatever book selection what was given by my local bookshop. Whereas now Amazon is there, you can select whatever is available. And if New York Times recommends this is the bestseller, everybody wants to read that bestseller only, and not the second best, third best. So what has happened, fortunately or unfortunately, in this new world is, if your work is even a little better than others, you will grab the whole market. Everybody will go to you. It may not be 1,000 times better. So to make yourself a little better than everybody else, it requires that power of concentration. It requires that focus. So this is a reality about our new world, which we must realize. One more point I would like to make. A lot of work has been done on what concentration is and how we can increase concentration. Recently, in this branch of psychology called positive psychology. So there is a psychologist, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who has dedicated his life to the study of attention, to the study of how we focus, how we get concentration. His basic insight is this: actually, our power of attention is limited. We say the mind has unlimited power. He says, no, just the opposite. We have limited power only. And he quantifies it. He says, at any moment, our attention has only a limited bandwidth. He says it is 110 bits per second, approximately. That's the amount of information. Bits means the computer science bit of information. So at any given second, we can consciously process only 110 bits of information per second. Now, that might seem to be a lot, but it is not. For example, he says, just to process the words of one person who's speaking to us. So I'm speaking to you. If you are attending to me, if you're listening to what I'm saying and trying to understand, you're using up about half of the available cognitive bandwidth. He says around 60 bits per second it requires to listen to a person and understand what the speaker is saying. That's why if two people speak to us at the same time, we do not have enough cognitive bandwidth to understand both at the same time. You see, it becomes very irritating. If somebody is speaking to you, another person starts speaking to you, you become very upset. It's very difficult to concentrate and focus and understand anything. It's because it goes beyond our bandwidth limit. Now, here is the key insight from Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. What is concentration? He says this 110 bits per second, which is available to you, how much of that we can take and focus on one subject? That is concentration. So out of 110 bits per second, can I take 70, 80? Little bit will be left over for just being aware of oneself. Can I take 80, 90 or 100 bits per second and focus it on my object of concentration? So I'm studying a book, a chapter in a book. How much of 110 bits per second is concentrated there? If I'm not interested and bored, what will happen is maybe 30, 40 bits per second is there. But what happens is the excess cognitive capacity which is left over, and this is crucial, the excess cognitive capacity which is left over, that is not being used. So anything in the environment that pulls your attention, that excess will go there and you will be distracted. A noise is there, TV is there, phone is ringing or phone is giving a little beep or ting, immediately mind goes there. And that is distraction. So when a child says, child is not interested in studying, is fidgeting, is bored, no concentration is there, because only a little bit of the cognitive capacity of the child is there on that book, and maybe 60%, 70% is left over and continuously distracted by things in the environment. Those children who are concentrating, they're giving 80, 90% of the total capacity on the object, and the external environment is not making a difference to it. There's no bandwidth left over for loss of focus. You're holding on to that focus. Every child, especially children, have actually a power of tremendous focus. Notice when the favorite cartoon or favorite TV program is there, how much focus is there? For hour after hour, the child will sit there and look. So ability to focus is there. It's only not under our voluntary control. Swami Vivekananda says that if I had to do my education all over again, I would develop the power of attachment and detachment, the power to focus my mind at will and then to detach it and put it on another subject like that. So this is a key idea that we get from Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. And he gives us this idea that how do you develop? So what is this power of concentration? Very important idea is that when we are concentrated, deeply concentrated, you're using 80, 90% of your focus, the cognitive ability to do something, read a book, write something, whatever it is. It is actually a very pleasurable feeling. It is a very enjoyable feeling. Concentration, focus is not boring. It is enjoyable. Not only it makes you more productive, more effective, it is also very enjoyable. He calls it flow. And he's written a book about it called Flow, which is a very important book in this whole literature on attention and concentration. He says, the quality of my life, it depends on how much concentration I have and what I concentrate on. How much concentration and what I concentrate on, that makes all the difference to the quality of my life. I read about the case of this lady who wrote another book on concentration. She says that she got cancer and then chemotherapy, and very miserable. Um, Physical illness, the effects of chemotherapy, the financial worries about all the expensive treatment. So her life became hellish and miserable. Then she decided, no, I am a writer. I will focus on my writing and give minimum attention to all these other problems. These problems will go on. So once she said that once she shifted her attention from her troubles, cancer, chemotherapy, financial problem, to writing and writing alone, and minimum attention required for all the other things, whole quality of my life changed, she says. Because what I was concentrating on, am I concentrating on my problems or on my work? My work is writing. I'm concentrating, more attention will be given to that. By that, what I concentrate on and how much I concentrate, that makes the whole difference in my life. So this is a very important insight. And Mihai Csikszentmihalyi gives this the crucial technique for improving concentration, very deep insight. He says there are these two factors. One is challenge. Consider challenge to be like a y-axis. And other one is skill. Consider skill to be the x-axis. Now, as our skill increases, as the challenge in our life increases, if something is more challenging and we are not skillful, it will make you anxious and worried. So there is an assignment, for example, for a student, something you have to write, and I don't know, I've never done such a thing earlier, I'll be worried. My skill is less, challenge is more, worry. Skill is more, you are very confident, and challenge is less, you get bored. Imagine when you are learning how to drive for the first time, skill is less and challenge is more. You're very concentrated and anxious and tense. I should not hit or get hit by another vehicle. When you are an expert driver, after some time, the same driving, it is almost mechanical. You can enjoy music or talk to another person and drive automatically. So the skill is more and challenge is less then. Now, his crucial insight is when skill and challenge are equally balanced, in between, there is this thing called flow, concentration. What is concentration? When the work that you are doing, what activity that you are doing is very challenging and your skill is exactly equal to it, not more or less. So you are forced to use all of your power, all of your focus all of your skill to accomplish that task, then you will be in flow, in concentration, full concentration. And that flow state is a very healthy state. It's a very beneficial state, very enjoyable state. Uh, I remember I was I noticed how students in IIT Kanpur they worked in the library. I would sit in the library and read and watch them sometimes. Same group of students come early in the morning, sitting there. Afternoon, when I went back to take my bath and I had lunch and came back. Same group of students still sitting there 7, 8 hours later, 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, sitting and studying the same thing. Not one. Many of them have the same capacity. I don't know. This is sad that we have not recognized that the crucial factor in education is the power of concentration. And we are not helping children to develop that. So, students studying like that, I went to another engineering college many years later to give a talk to the students, a private engineering college, and well equipped. I mean, all good facilities are there. I went to the computer lab and it was empty. I asked the professor, so it's 5:30. Are the students not there in the lab? He said, "वो घूमने चले गए हैं. They have gone to, out. You know, it is open. If they want, they can come, but nobody is coming." So when I went and talked to the students, I said, "See, the difference you see, IIT Kanpur and you is not that वो IIT है ये उतना अच्छा नहीं है ऐसा नहीं है. You got the same kind of facilities. It's not a difference in teachers so much. It's not even that वो लोग ज़्यादा intelligent हैं हम लोग intelligent नहीं है. Not at all that also. There's only one difference, and the difference is how persistent those students are and how persistent you are not. One difference, same computer, same kind of laboratory. Maybe your laboratory is more latest equipment is there, more shiny, and it is empty. And I can guarantee you, at 5:30, if you go to the lab in IIT Kanpur, it will be full. Now, what is the difference? The difference is that the ability to hold on to one task and go on hour after hour to do it. And the interesting thing is, you may think, oh, kitna boring hai. It is not boring. It is not troublesome. As Mihai Csikszentmihalyi has pointed out, concentration is very enjoyable. एक चीज को पकड़ के you throw out everything else in your life and hold on to it for hour after hour, you will see the joy and satisfaction you get. So this active engagement in one task, psychologist says that, see, if you passively do something, like passively consuming, you're sitting in front of TV or internet and watching hour after hour, 2 3 hours, at the end of it, you feel disturbed, you feel disintegrated, you feel your mind is lower than it was earlier. But the same thing, suppose some sports is there. If you actually go out and play that game instead of watching it on TV, at the end of 1 or 2 hours, you feel energized, you feel happy. So any kind of active engagement, concentration is actually better for you psychologically, more enjoyable, more satisfying at the end of that activity. You will be happier, more engaged, and more fulfilled. You will feel more integrated inside. Um, People say, I wasted so many hours browsing on internet. How do you feel after that? Very bad. I feel bad. Yeah. So one cartoon I saw yesterday, it is there that one man is walking. It's written goal of life. He's walking towards goal of life. From behind another cartoon comes. It's written Netflix movie. It is coming and catching that man and taking him away. So away from the goal of life. So you feel good when you're concentrating on something and then moving forward. It is more enjoyable. I told the students, which students I saw in the IIT Kanpur library working for 7, 8, 9 hours sitting with the same book, same assignment. They are not bored. They are actually more happy than you are. This is the trick. We feel बैठ के पढ़ाई करना मेहनत करना, it is मेहनत, we put it, it's hard work, boring. No, it is actually enjoyable. It is actually fulfilling. It is actually, you end up being integrated at a better level psychologically than you were when you started. So this is one more insight from Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. Swami Vivekananda, if you see the logo he designed for the Ramakrishna mission, Um, if you remember, there is a serpent like a snake surrounding the whole thing like this. It's there. In between, there is a swan. There is the waters, wavy waters. One sunrise and lotus is there. Of course, we know the meaning for yogas. The lotus symbolizes bhakti yoga. The water symbolizes karma yoga. The sun rising symbolizes jnana yoga. And the snake symbolizes concentration, raja yoga. And the swan is the paramahamsa, that you reach the goal, you reach God realization, you realize your Paramatma by a combination of work and meditation and devotion and knowledge. Four yogas: Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Raja Yoga. But I want to concentrate on that Raja Yoga, that snake. Notice that is the symbol for concentration. Three things are there. What are the three things? One is the snake is constant when it is, say, focusing on its prey, a mouse or a frog, how intense its concentration is. Intense focus on one thing. That's number one. Number two, what does the snake do? You see that the hood of the snake is expanded. So as if by expanding the hood of the snake, what is the snake doing? As if it is cutting out all distractions. Now, I'm saying as if because any biologist or expert on snakes will point out that it's actually doing that as an intimidation tactic. It's a part of the intimidation of the snake. But we can imagine like this, that it is cutting out all distractions. It is saying no, one aspect of concentration is to focus on one thing. The second aspect of concentration is to cut out everything else. If you do not cut out other things, then they will come and interfere with your concentration. So nothing else, no friends, no mobile phone. By the way, I gave you the example of Mahan Maharaj, the mathematician, the monk who is a mathematician. One of the persons leading cutting edge mathematician, topology, working on string theory, one of the persons who is least interested in a mobile phone, computer. I think he has no mobile phone also. Even if he has mobile phone, you will never be able to reach him because he does not answer. It's permanently. When he wants to use it, he switches it on and makes a call. Otherwise, off. And this is something I've seen in monks, in scholars, those who are seriously interested in doing some work. They cut themselves off from computer, social media, and all of that. So that's an interesting aspect. That ability to. Second aspect is like the snake and the hood, cutting off things. Have you seen how little children study sometimes? When they're very focused, they will do like this. They study like this. Yes. What are they doing? They're cutting out the world. Only this thing. I'm focusing on one thing. We need not do like this, but mentally we should be like that. Everything else, no. So that's the second aspect. The snake is like that, cutting out the whole world. The third aspect of concentration is the snake holds on that focus for a long time. Holding on the focus for a long time. So three things are there. One is focus on one thing. Second is cut out everything else. Third is hold that focus. Hold that focus. Daniel Goleman, in his book Focus, he has dwelt a lot on meditation. See, both Mihai Csikszentmihalyi and Daniel Goleman in their books, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi in his book Flow, Daniel Goleman in his book Focus, they have dwelt for a long time on meditation. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi says the best methodology to attain flow. I have studied the literature across the world on attention in all different cultures. The best one I found is the manual on meditation written by Patanjali, the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. 2 pages he goes on describing the Patanjali Yoga Sutra in his book Flow. Daniel Goleman also spent some time talking about the different stages of meditation and the neuroscience behind it. He says, when anyone tries to meditate, what happens is you take up one object of meditation. In whichever tradition of meditation, it's basically training of attention. All meditation techniques are training of attention. Whether you're repeating a mantra, whether you're following the breath, whether you're visualizing a deity or the chakras, whatever you're doing, or you're using a Vedantic approach to take any experience and become aware of the witness, or whatever you're doing, it is basically training the attention. Now, there he says, when you train the attention, it will go through these stages. First of all, you will pick up something to focus on. maybe a mantra, or maybe your breath. Then second, what will happen? Some distraction will come. Always, some distraction will come. Some thought will come, some sensation will come, and the mind will go there. Not only go there, from there to something else. And mind will start wandering. Then third, what will happen is you will notice, oh, I have to repeat the mantra, Om Namah Shivaya or something, or I have to follow the breath, breathing in, breathing out. Now my mind has gone elsewhere. So I must now bring it back to the object of focus and hold it there. So these are the stages. Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says, you concentrate on the Atman, then yato yato manas nischarati, that wherever the mind goes, tatas tata niyameta, from there you notice it and bring it back. And then again, put it on the object of concentration. The interesting thing that Daniel Goleman adds is, he says our latest neuroscience shows that each of the stages has its own neuronal activity in the brain. When you select something to focus, one set of neurons fires. When there is a distraction, another set of neurons is firing. When the mind is wandering, there are other neurons which are active. When you notice that the mind is wandering, another set of neurons becomes active. When you consciously withdraw the mind from those distractions and bring it back to the object of concentration, another set of neurons is firing. So the whole process, which is described in Bhagavad Gita, for example, in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, or in Buddhist meditation manuals, it is actually based on firm neuroscience. They noticed these are different processes in the brain. Selecting, distraction, wandering, noticing that the mind is wandering, and then bringing it back. As we repeat meditation, daily we do that, the mind becomes trained in noticing the distraction and in bringing the mind back from distraction and focusing on the object of concentration. So repetition, like a mental gym, it trains the mind. So this is one more thing, that regular meditation, it improves the power of concentration. It enables you to notice distraction, enables you to consciously bring the mind back from distraction and focus on the object of concentration, and enables you to hold on to the focus of concentration. One more powerful idea from Swami Vivekananda about concentration, how to get powerful concentration. We know Swami Vivekananda himself had extraordinary powers of concentration. So many stories are there. In Belur Mutt, when he's sitting, he's reading, his disciple Sharat Chandra comes and sees Encyclopedia Britannica. Not today, like you see in DVD or in website, but those actual books, heavy leather-bound books. So at that time, it was 10 volumes. And Sharat Chandra said to Swami Vivekananda, oh, so many fat books, one human being cannot read in one's lifetime. Swami Vivekananda said, oh, what are you saying? I have finished 9 volumes. I'm on the 10th. Ask me anything from any of those volumes. And Sharat Chandra actually took up the challenge. He picks up this volume and that volume, randomly opens pages and says to Swami Vivekananda, tell me what is there on this subject. And Swamiji replied to all the questions, including sometimes the same language down to the comma and full stop. Sharat Chandra was stunned. How is this possible? And Swami Vivekananda says, by the power of concentration and brahmacharya, he says, it is possible. Power of concentration, brahmacharya. In another place, Swami Vivekananda said, the purer the mind, the easier it is to concentrate. The more you have purified the mind, the easier it is to concentrate. Now, one may not get that encyclopedia reading and memorizing power, but definitely, as we make efforts at concentrating, you'll find wherever we are, whatever is our level, definitely improvement will be there. Whatever is our age, whatever is our condition in life, health, occupation, our power of concentration will improve if we follow these methods, especially meditation. And Swami Vivekananda gives a very powerful method. He says, simple and powerful. Do whatever you are doing with the fullest possible attention. Not just meditation, not just studying. At whatever time, whatever you are doing. You may even be gossiping on mobile phone with your friend, but do it with the fullest possible attention. Why? He says, remember it is the same mind. We have only one mind. We have only one mind. One Swami in Satyarupanji in Raipur Ramakrishna Mission, he, a very senior Swami, he gave a very nice example. He was telling students, कि आप तो आपके पापा तो दाढ़ी बनाते होंगे. And he said, your father shaves. So if you take the shaving blade of your father, उससे आप pencil चलना शुरू कर दे. If you start sharpening your pencil, what will happen? So the student said, it will become blunt. Will your father be able to shave? No. Why? Because it has become blunt. Similarly, we have only one mind. Now, if throughout the day I scatter it, जो भी करना है करो, whatever it takes its fancy. Especially the internet gives me full scope to scatter anywhere I like. Then when the time comes for concentration, now I have to do this assignment, I have to do this work, the mind will not concentrate. It has become habituated to being scattered. So rather, Swami Vivekananda says, do whatever you are doing with the fullest possible attention. Intense focus. Take up this 20-minute, 25-minute chunk of time. In this 25 minutes, nothing else will enter. You give yourself time for a break. After 25 minutes, 5-minute break will be there. Tell the mind you relax, do whatever you want. Again, 25 minutes. At that time, make up consciously, nothing else will enter. Intense burst of concentration, far more productive than 2-3 hours of little work, little distraction, little gossip, little Facebook. That kind of, it will not be productive at all. So do whatever you are doing with the fullest possible attention. Just the opposite of multitasking. So today we are so used to, I'm doing my assignment, I'm talking to my friend, once in a while I'm checking my mobile phone for messages and Facebook posts, multitasking. That is very bad. That is harmful for concentration. Time magazine, in fact, had a full page, full cover story on multitasking. And the conclusion was, everybody concluded that multitasking is not good for our mental health or even for our productivity. Swami Vivekananda says that do whatever you are doing with the fullest possible attention. I have noticed these monks, scholars, good students who have got this tremendous power of concentration. In their other activities also, they're very concentrated. In their other day-to-day activities. If they're talking to you, they'll pay full attention. And not for long. If you bore them, they will go away. But as long as they're listening to you, they'll listen very carefully. I've seen that. Yeah. I have seen professors in top institutes. I ask a question. They remember my question, every exact word to word. They've listened so carefully. They can quote my question back to me. I cannot quote back what I asked maybe, but they know exactly what about you. So they give that tremendous attention, even for a short span of time. Do whatever you're doing with the fullest possible attention. Remember, we have only one mind. Last word and I'll finish. I've talked only about concentration, but in Swami Vivekananda's philosophy of education, it is only one aspect. It is not enough. Ravana also had tremendous concentration. The demons in our mythology are people who had great concentration, but were not good people. So just concentration itself is not enough to be a blessing to our life, to make us helpful for ourselves and for society. Swami Vivekananda gave great stress on unselfishness. Let our life not be limited to only to myself. What I do, it should be a blessing to others in my community, in my society, for humanity at large. So the more you stand for something which is for a lot of people, not just yourself, more you stand not for the individual, but for the community, the more successful you will be for your own sake and for others. Not just the power of concentration, but the power of unselfishness. I would say power of unselfishness is greater and bigger and more beneficial than even the power of concentration. Both should go hand in hand. Okay, so that's what I wanted to speak about this morning. Thank you so much.